Let's get real. Most women think men are turned on by what they see, but that's not true. What actually pulls a man in isn't your body, it's your words. The way a single sentence can make him feel powerful, seen, and safe all at once. Because when you use the right words, 5 simple, innocent ones, you don't just catch his attention. You stay in his mind. He replays your voice when you're not there, wondering why he can't shake that feeling. These 5 words might sound ordinary, but when used with warmth and confidence, they touch the part of a man that rarely gets spoken to, his pride, his purpose, his quiet need to feel chosen. Most women talk at men, not to them. But when you understand the emotional blueprint behind these words, everything changes. He'll open up more, listen longer, and start investing in you emotionally because he feels seen, not judged. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll know how to speak to the side of him that even he doesn't fully understand. If you're tired of guessing what men actually respond to, don't just watch. Listen closely. These words aren't tricks, they're emotional keys. Once you understand how they work, you'll never have to chase attention again. It'll naturally flow to you. There's a simple word that changes everything when it comes to how men connect with you, and it's really. It sounds ordinary, harmless, even casual. But when you use it with intention, it does something extraordinary. It tells a man, I'm actually paying attention. Most people listen just to reply. But when you say really, softly, curiously, it signals something different. Presence. It shows that you're engaged, that you care about the details of what he's saying, that you see more in him than just the surface. Here's why it matters. Men are rarely asked to share what's underneath their confidence. They're used to being heard for what they do, not who they are. So when you pause, look at him, and respond with, really, in that tone of genuine curiosity, it makes him feel like he's safe to open up, not because he needs validation, but because he finally feels understood. That's the emotional space where true connection begins. Imagine a moment where he's talking about something he's proud of, maybe a project he finished, a trip he took, or even a small challenge he overcame. Instead of giving the usual, that's cool, you lean in a little and say, really, how did that feel? That single word does more than any compliment could. It draws him in. It turns an ordinary exchange into an emotional one. You're not flattering him. You're inviting him to go deeper. Men, despite how confident they appear, crave moments where they can drop the performance. The word really gives them that space. It says, you can stop trying to impress me. I already like the real you. And that's magnetic. It's not loud or dramatic. It's calm, grounding, and quietly powerful. When used right, really becomes a reflection mirror. It makes a man look at himself through your eyes. And if your eyes show warmth and respect, he'll associate that feeling with you. That's not manipulation, that's emotional intelligence. You're creating a sense of belonging, and belonging is the most underrated form of attraction. So the next time you talk to a man you like, don't rush to fill the silence. Let him speak. Listen. Then say, really? Softly, genuinely. That one word tells him something his heart rarely hears. I see you. There's something quietly powerful about the word maybe. It doesn't promise. It doesn't reject. It lives in the middle. That space where curiosity grows. When you say maybe to a man, you create an energy of lightness and mystery that keeps him leaning forward. It's not about playing games. It's about keeping the conversation alive, keeping him emotionally engaged instead of giving him complete certainty too soon. Because the truth is, certainty ends curiosity, and curiosity is what keeps attraction alive. Imagine this. He suggests something, maybe going out somewhere or doing something spontaneous, and instead of giving a straight yes or no, you smile and say, maybe. In that moment, you're showing confidence without trying. You're saying, I don't need to decide right now. Let's see if the moment earns it. And that's powerful because men instinctively respect women who know their worth without having to say it out loud. Psychologically, maybe signals that you have options, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you think before you give your energy. That makes him curious about what will win your yes. It shifts his focus from getting your attention to earning your investment, and that shift makes him more attentive, thoughtful, and present around you. Maybe also creates space. It allows the interaction to breathe instead of rushing into outcomes. In a world where everything moves too fast, where people look for instant answers and instant validation, the person who can pause and say maybe stands out. It tells him you're not desperate for connection, you're open to it, but only if it feels right. That calm confidence is deeply attractive. There's another layer too. Maybe invites playfulness. It keeps moments from feeling predictable. When you respond with maybe, especially with a small smile or a teasing tone, it adds warmth to the conversation. It tells him, I enjoy this, I enjoy you, but I'm still my own person. That mix of openness and independence builds tension, not the dramatic kind, but the kind that keeps two people wanting to know more about each other. So don't underestimate this small, gentle word. Used with self-assurance, maybe becomes a reflection of emotional maturity. It says you're curious, but not attached. You're interested, but not rushing. And that balance, that calm, effortless presence, is what quietly draws a man in, because he can feel you're someone who chooses connection, not chases it. There's a reason the word interesting holds so much quiet influence. It's not a loud compliment, and it's not obvious praise. But when said with genuine curiosity, it has the power to make a man feel truly seen. It's a word that validates without flattering, that acknowledges without overcommitting. When a woman says interesting with warmth in her tone, it tells a man that he's not just being heard, he's being understood. And that's something men rarely feel. Most men spend their lives trying to prove themselves, to be impressive enough to earn attention. But when you say interesting, you remove that pressure. You give him a sense of ease, letting him know you're not judging or analyzing him, you're simply intrigued. And that feeling of being genuinely intriguing to someone taps into a deep emotional reward. It makes him relax, open up, and want to keep sharing because he senses you're someone who listens between the lines. Imagine he's telling you about a decision he made, a dream he has, or even a mistake he learned from. Instead of rushing to respond or offer advice, you pause, smile slightly, and say, "That's interesting." You're giving him space to expand, to talk more, to show his thoughts and emotions. You're not pushing him, you're pulling him gently through curiosity. That's what keeps the connection growing. Psychologically, interesting does two things at once. It validates his effort while keeping the mystery alive. You're showing appreciation for his perspective, but you're not completely revealing yours yet. That balance makes your energy feel grounded and confident. He doesn't feel like he has to entertain you. Instead, he feels inspired to be more authentic. The beauty of this word is in its neutrality. It doesn't trap you into giving false compliments or fake enthusiasm. It gives you control over the emotional pace. You can use it when you genuinely find something meaningful or when you're still figuring out how you feel. And both ways, it keeps the energy light and open. Men find calm curiosity magnetic because it makes them feel accepted, not evaluated. When you say interesting, you're saying you have layers and I'm taking the time to see them. That simple acknowledgement builds quiet respect and trust, two things far more powerful than attraction built on surface charm. So next time he shares something, resist the urge to react too fast. Just smile, hold his gaze, and say, interesting. It's a small word, but in that moment, it tells him more than a dozen compliments ever could. There's a subtle, almost overlooked word that holds more weight than any grand compliment. You simply saying, here. When you use it with sincerity, it becomes a signal. I'm fully present with you. In a world where so many conversations are half-listened, distracted, or interrupted by a ping, this word, said softly, is a grounding force. It tells a man, you matter right now. I'm not checking my phone. I'm not thinking about tomorrow. I'm right here with you. Men don't often get that message. That someone is truly in their company, and not just physically, but emotionally, in that exact moment. When you say, here, or when you simply show through your tone and posture that you are here, you give him access to something rare, emotional calm. Research on emotional safety shows that when someone feels seen and accepted just as they are, their nervous system settles. They don't have to perform or impress. They can relax. Psychology Today, +2, Psych Central, +2. Picture this scenario. He's just finishing a story. You're driving or you're at a table, and instead of glancing away or immediately chiming in, you keep your gaze steady. You nod, you breathe, and you say, "I'm here." The emphasis isn't on the words, it's on your energy. That single moment might feel small to you, but to him, it's unusual and powerful. He thinks, she didn't need me to entertain her or impress her, she just needs me. And that invites him to show more of himself. There's another layer. When you're here, you also give him a sense of reliability and stability. In relationships and interactions, safety isn't built by grand gestures, it's built by consistent, calm presence. romerstherapy.com. When a man senses that you're a presence he can trust, not because you've promised everything, but because you consistently show up, what begins is something deeper than attraction: respect. This word here isn't a strategy, it's more a posture of emotional maturity. You're not using it to manipulate, you're simply choosing to bring your attention fully into the moment. That presence becomes magnetic because it's hard to find. So while you're engaging in conversation, listening to his story, let that word and the state behind it be your tool. Say less, listen more. Keep your posture relaxed, your expression warm but curious. When you finally speak, use here or right now, or simply stay present in silence before adding your reflection. Because what a man will remember isn't necessarily the compliment you gave him, it's how you made him feel. And when you make him feel that you are here, in that moment, fully with him, you turn the conversation into something memorable. That's how true connection starts. It's amazing how one of the most common words in our language can hold so much emotional power. The word you seems small, but when used intentionally, it becomes one of the strongest ways to create warmth, trust, and connection. When you say you to a man, especially in a sincere tone, it quietly shifts the focus onto him, not in a way that feeds his ego, but in a way that makes him feel seen as a person, not just another conversation partner. Think about it. So many conversations today are self-centered. People talk to be heard, not to listen. But when you say things like, "You really did that," or "You make that sound easy," you're turning your attention outward. You're showing him that you're not just waiting for your turn to talk, you're actually engaging with his world. That tiny shift makes him feel valued. And for most men, that's not something they experience often. When you use you genuinely, it helps build emotional safety. It tells him, "I'm interested in understanding you," instead of, "I just want to talk about myself." That kind of validation, even in small doses, creates a sense of comfort that allows him to open up more. Men are naturally less expressive about their emotions, but when they sense they're being seen without judgment, they relax. And that's when real conversations begin. The word you also changes energy. It makes what you say more personal, more direct. Compare "that's funny" with "you're funny." The first is casual. The second is intimate. The same is true for "that's smart" versus "you're smart." Adding you personalizes the compliment, turning a generic statement into a meaningful one. And that's the difference between being polite and being memorable. But the secret lies in how you use it. If you is overused or said without presence, it loses its power. The magic happens when it's natural, when your tone carries warmth and genuine curiosity. You're not saying it to flatter, you're saying it to connect. Even something as simple as, "You've got a calm way of handling things," can leave a deep impression because it shows observation, that you notice something others might have missed. The word you bridges distance. It draws two people closer without effort. It turns ordinary moments into shared ones and shows quiet appreciation without needing big words. So next time you speak, be aware of it. Notice how using you thoughtfully changes the tone of your conversations. It's subtle, it's gentle, but when used with intention, it's one of the most powerful ways to make someone feel truly valued. And that's where real attraction begins. It's a small word, often overlooked, but really can change the entire tone of a conversation. When used the right way, it shows genuine interest, not the surface level kind that people use out of habit, but the kind that makes someone feel like you actually care. Saying really with warmth and attention turns a normal exchange into something meaningful because it signals curiosity, not politeness. Imagine he's telling you about his day, a challenge he faced, or even something simple that made him smile. When you respond with a soft, really, you're not just filling space, you're inviting him to say more. You're showing that his thoughts matter, that you're not just hearing his words, you're listening to the feeling behind them. And that's something men quietly crave, the feeling of being listened to without judgment or interruption. Really does more than ask for details. It builds emotional rhythm. It slows down the pace of a conversation and makes it more human. In a world full of rushed replies and surface talk, this one word helps create space. Space for emotion, space for honesty. And when a man feels that kind of space, he opens up naturally. He starts to relax, to share things he doesn't always talk about, because that single word told him, "You can keep going, I'm here." But there's a balance. The power of really depends on authenticity. If you use it too often or without true interest, it loses meaning. It's not about sounding impressed, it's about sounding present. When you say it with genuine tone and eye contact, it becomes an invitation. You're not reacting to impress him, you're connecting to understand him. There's also a playful side to it. Sometimes, when said with a small smile or teasing tone, really, it adds lightness, a spark of curiosity. It tells him you're engaged and enjoying the moment. This mix of sincerity and ease makes the word adaptable. It can be deep or fun depending on the energy between you. Psychologically, really works because it reflects emotional intelligence. It shows you're responsive, not reactive. You're allowing the moment to unfold instead of rushing to fill silence or prove a point. That calm confidence is magnetic. So next time you're in conversation, try it. Don't force it. Just let it come naturally when something he says catches your interest. Look at him, pause slightly and say, "Really?" That one word can do more than keep a dialogue alive. It can make him feel heard, understood, and valued. And that feeling is what quietly deepens attraction, one sincere moment at a time. There's something deeply powerful about the phrase, "Tell me." It's simple, it's soft, but it carries a message that few people ever communicate. I want to know you. When you say, "Tell me," it creates a bridge between curiosity and care. It shows you're not just interested in surface details. You're inviting him to open up, to share a part of his world. And for a man, that kind of emotional invitation feels rare and disarming in the best way. Picture this. He starts talking about something that clearly matters to him, maybe a goal, a memory, or even a frustration. Most people would nod, say, "Oh wow," and move on. But you lean in slightly and say, "Tell me." Two small words, yet they completely shift the energy. Suddenly, he feels safe to go deeper, to say what's really on his mind. You've created space, not for performance, but for honesty. And in that space, genuine connection begins to grow. The beauty of "tell me" is in its softness. It doesn't push or demand. It doesn't sound like an interrogation or a test. It sounds open, gentle, and patient. That tone tells him that you're not there to judge his story. You're there to understand it. And that kind of listening is something men rarely experience. Most of the time they feel like they need to filter their words or keep emotions tucked away. But when someone says, "Tell me," it feels like permission. Permission to drop the guard, to be real for once. "Tell me" also communicates presence. You're not distracted or halfway listening. You're fully engaged. Your eyes, your tone, your silence, all of it becomes part of the conversation. It's not about what you say next. It's about how deeply you listen. That's what makes this phrase magnetic. It shows emotional maturity and a quiet confidence that doesn't need to fill every silence. What makes it even more powerful is that "tell me" can be playful or serious, depending on how you use it. With a smile, it can spark curiosity. "Tell me, what made you think that?" said with warmth, keeps things light and fun. In deeper moments, it can be grounding. Tell me what you really mean. Either way, it builds trust because it says, your thoughts matter to me. So don't underestimate those two words. In a world full of people who only talk to be heard, tell me is an act of connection. It's not just conversation, it's emotional presence. And when a man feels that kind of presence, he doesn't just feel attracted, he feels safe. And that's where real intimacy quietly begins. At first glance, okay seems ordinary, something you say without even thinking. But when used with the right tone and intention, it becomes one of the most grounding, emotionally intelligent words you can use. It's a word that brings calm into a conversation, especially when emotions or uncertainty are in the air. When you say okay softly, without resistance or tension, it tells him that he's safe to be himself, that he doesn't have to walk on eggshells or prove anything. Imagine this. He shares something personal, maybe a thought, a mistake, or a feeling he's not sure how you'll take. Instead of reacting instantly or trying to fix it, you take a breath and say, okay. That one word communicates acceptance. You're not dismissing what he said, and you're not judging it. You're simply allowing it to exist. And for a man, that sense of acceptance is rare and powerful. It gives him room to breathe. Psychologically, okay acts as a bridge between emotions. It diffuses tension and creates understanding without the need for big explanations. It's not submission, it's emotional steadiness. You're saying, I hear you. I'm not running away from this moment. That kind of emotional stability is magnetic because it shows strength without confrontation. It tells him that you can handle honesty, that you don't need everything to be perfect to stay present. The magic of okay also lies in its tone. When said with gentleness, it feels reassuring. When said with calm confidence, it feels grounding. But when said coldly or quickly, it can sound like disinterest. That's why presence matters more than the word itself. When your tone matches your empathy, okay becomes more than a response. It becomes comfort. In relationships and emotional exchanges, people often crave dramatic words to express care. But the truth is, connection is built in the quiet moments, in the steady, simple responses that say, I'm here and I understand. Saying okay at the right time tells him that you're emotionally steady, that he can trust you with honesty and imperfection. That trust slowly turns into respect, and respect deepens attraction more than any fancy line ever could. So next time he opens up and you don't have the perfect thing to say, don't rush it. Just be still, listen, and say, okay. Let it carry the weight of calmness, acceptance, and presence. Because sometimes what makes someone fall deeper isn't excitement or charm. It's the quiet assurance that they're safe being real with you. And that's the kind of connection that lasts.